Happy Friday, everybody. Great to be here with you this morning. It's officially 7:30, I think a minute after, actually. Welcome to Digital Devotionals with Andy this morning. We're live on Facebook. If you are watching on YouTube, you'll have a little bit of a delay on this, but great to be here with you this morning as well. It's Friday, and it's in theory, the end of the week, but who knows what day it is anymore. Good morning, Nikki. Great to have you here today, and good morning. In either case, this will be my last post for the week, as I typically take the weekend off to focus on a couple other things in the morning. But guys, great to be here with you today. Each day I kind of highlight my mug or my beverage of choice, and today you can see that I have a very official coffee drinking dispenser here this morning. My tumbler, I got this from Grace Covenant up in Washington, D.C., a tremendous church. I had the pleasure of going and visiting and shadowing, and Pastor Brett Fuller is not only a tremendous pastor and leader, but someone who's been a great friend to us here in Atlanta. So, that being said, I've got my official Pastor Anakin. Nobody is going to accidentally take a drink out of this. Nobody. So, the other thing I'm supporting this morning, you might see less hate, more barbecue. Rocking my t-shirt this morning in support of my brother and sister-in-law's restaurant in Nashville. If you want some of the best tasting barbecue you'll ever eat in your life, stop by. And by stop by, I mean get takeout right now. But it's Honey Fire Barbecue, and they would be happy to serve you up a mean plate of barbecue. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, let's turn to the book of Nehemiah. We're talking about leadership this week, and today's lesson is short and sweet. And good morning, Diana. It's great to have you here today. Turn to Nehemiah chapter 4. And by the way, you might see some Easter eggs behind me. I forgot to make mention of that. We're putting together we got a little photo shoot that's happening here where we're hiding Easter eggs, and kids are going to try to find them in the picture for our church since we can't do an actual Easter egg hunt. Should be fun. So don't let your kids look at this. Good morning, Craig, Ken. Good to have you guys here today. And Nehemiah and Ezra are my two favorite books in the Bible. I see your comment, and I could not agree more. So, Nehemiah chapter 4. What's happening here in Nehemiah is there is a rebuilding of the wall in Jerusalem. Without getting into all the context, Jerusalem was sacked, and the wall has been destroyed. Much of the Jews that were living there have been deported and are living in exile, and Nehemiah is gripped with a desire to see his city rebuilt. And there's a moment in front of us right now, if you're watching, where we're still in the midst of quarantine, but when this quarantine lifts, there's going to be a tremendous rebuilding that has to happen. Not just a physical rebuilding, but even an emotional one. That's going to happen in relationships, et cetera, et cetera. And so I thought this was very appropriate for us here today as we've talked this week about leadership. And today, Nehemiah chapter 4, verse 1, we're going to talk about some of the work that they start to do. When Sanballat heard that we were rebuilding the wall, he became angry and was greatly incensed. He ridiculed the Jews, and in the presence of his associates and the army of Samaria, he said, "What are those feeble Jews doing? Will they restore their wall? Will they offer sacrifices? Will they finish in a day? Can they bring the stones back to life from those heaps of rubble, burned as they are?" So we have a great work that people are attempting to accomplish. And what's coming out in this moment is criticism. What's coming out in this moment is pain, comparison, anger, envy, jealousy. And this is what I want you all to be prepared for. Part of good leadership isn't just being able to lead in the moment, it's being able to see what's coming. And it doesn't take a rocket scientist for us to see that there is a moment coming when the quarantine lifts, and it's already beginning now, and the criticism police will be out in force. In other words, the blame game is going to be in full effect. Now, I'm not suggesting that there's not worthy conversations or lessons to be learned as it pertains to the coronavirus. There are things for us to learn in our local principalities, our communities, from the presidential level as well. We can all grow, we can all get better, we can all learn. And those are some worthy conversations and even some hard conversations. But that's not the kind of conversation we're talking about here in Nehemiah chapter 4. What's happening here is that something great is being attempted. And the criticism police and the blame police and the angry hearts, they're coming out in droves. And this is what you need to be prepared for. In the church, in your business, in your community, is that there's going to be a propensity in the midst of pain for somebody to want to blame somebody for the condition and situations that we're in. If you're losing a business, if you're losing money, salary, income, there is a helplessness that you feel. And when you feel helpless, one of the greatest proclivities that we have is to want to blame someone or something and to be critical in our heart. Now, I can speak firsthand to this because for some reason I have to guard my own heart, in being critical at times. If I'm not seeing the progress that I want, or someone else is progressing at a faster clip or a faster pace, or they're accomplishing more than I am, right? There is a propensity in us to become critical, to have something to say under our breath. Or maybe not quite so much under our breath, outright. And so here's what we see these great leaders doing in verse 6. In the midst of criticism, in the midst of blaming, in the midst of anger, verse 6 says that, so we rebuilt the wall till all of it reached half its height, for the people worked with all their heart. I love that. And just track with me just for a minute longer. The greatest thing that we can do, church, is to love the Lord our God, if you're watching, with all our heart, soul, mind, and strength. And you know what? If you're watching and you're not a Christian, I'm thrilled that you're here this morning. One of the things that Jesus talks about, the greatest commandment, is to love God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. Right? That's what we want to give him everything. So we see even a bit of foreshadowing here in verse 6. What did they do? They worked with all their hearts. So in our moment of leadership this morning, I want you to brace yourself that as we try to come out of this quarantine in the weeks to come, and people are starting new businesses, they're making adjustments, they're trying to be innovative, they're trying to figure out ways to bring in more income and more resources. Restaurants are thinking out of the box. In other words, they're trying to rebuild the walls here. Churches are going to be doing the same thing. And it will be easy for us to sit back and to point fingers in the midst of our own pain, in the midst of our own heartache and frustration, and attack others and bring them down. And rather than falling into that trap, which is a sickness of the soul, that is a soul issue, if you're watching, it's soulful. Rather than falling into that trap, would you do this? Would you simply work with all your heart? Whatever it is that God has put in your hands, work to see it be the best thing and do it with all your heart. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. But then simply work with all of your heart in the things that God has put in your hand. Are you a banker this morning? Then be the best banker that you can be. Right? Are you in graphic design? Then be the best graphic designer that you can be. Be encouraging other people. Be cheering each other on. What we don't need is to lose this sense of community that we have right now and begin tearing each other down. What we need is to come out of this still cheering each other on, still rooting for each other, still believing for God to do great things. We can see the wall rebuilt, and we can do it together. We're better together. Don't fall into the trap of criticism. Don't begin to tear each other down. Don't begin to look at the church down the street and think, oh, come on, give me a break. Don't fall into that. Don't fall into the trap of comparing yourself with other real estate agents and other, the restaurant owner down the street. You be the person that God's called you to be. Love him with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength, and give everything you've got to the work that he's put in your hands. And we will see our communities rebuilt for the glory of God. It's going to be a great day in front of us, and I mean that. We're going to get through this. You need to hear this with clarity. You're going to get through this. You are. You're going to get through it. Guard your heart from becoming cynical. Guard your heart from becoming critical. Continue to worship God. Continue to find things to be thankful for. When you come out on the other side of this, be the person who's cheering everybody else on as well. Amen? All right. Hope you enjoyed leadership today, the heart of a leader in our digital devotional. This will be replaying today. You can catch it on YouTube, and enjoy your weekend. Sure do love you, and I'm counting down the days when we can get together in person again. Love you all. Be safe.